the director of this shindig. I'll repeat if everyone can turn off their cameras and also their microphones. That would be super duper cool. Yeah, so the program is available on Facebook as well as on the Google Drive. And I will send that link in the chat really quickly right now if you guys want to follow along during the performance. And if not, don't stress about it. Cool, great. So that is sent. The runtime is approximately 40 minutes. And you will view this best if your Zoom is in speaker view. So if you need a quick tutorial on how to do that, if you are on Zoom, you will go to the right corner, upper right-hand corner, there is a button that says speaker view. So go ahead and click that, and that will be the best experience for you. And I just want to give a quick special thank you to Kenzi Parsons, who cannot make it tonight, but she designed our logo and our poster that you guys may have seen on social media. So that was really, really cool of her. So if you know her, give her a big thank you. And also a big shout out to Madeline Wilson, who allowed us to use her Zoom Premium and be here today. So that's really cool. So I think that is all that I have to say. So I'll remind you once again, if you could all please turn off your cameras, and thank you for coming. And this is Stuff People Say.
Love. How can this one emotion or condition or whatever make me feel such immense longing and such unmistakable disgust? I think, why sully your hands with the affairs of the heart? It is so much cleaner to keep your friends at an arm's length and totally fucking immaculate, like my life would smell like fucking wildflowers and laundry detergent if I could just stop loving. It's like Lady Macbeth trying to rub out the damn spot. And it smells like old blood. Or maybe it smells like new blood. Fresh fruit, even. The it being love, of course. But you know that eventually it's going to turn to absolute rot. Stained like dried blood on white sheets. And you can never get back what you had before this decomposition. And yet, it's impossibly alluring.
I've thought about it before, living in the country, because that would be beautiful. I've always found it frightening being cut off from the world, all alone with nothing to do but wait to get to be 80 years old or 90 and die. You might have thought you were going to be a doctor or go to the moon or just have a nice little service job, a career, and all the ordinary stuff of life, and not throw it away on some great romantic gamble, like you think. Oh, I'd like to go to the country for the weekend, but just to fling myself out into the universe and drift among the stars and have this be my destiny. Take the gamble that this would be a meaningful life and one that you really like forever. The only life you have. I mean, not that I'm a morbid person, but you know, it seems to me you're out there all alone, and maybe with a farm and fields and trees and the night sky, the stars. You start to think pretty quickly how you're all alone and you just have your life on earth and then it's over. And it hasn't been any more than a wink in the life of the stars, and you haven't done anything that you think is worth an entire life on earth. So I've always just felt a lot safer living in the city where you can't see the stars at night. you can forget entirely that you're a mortal person. It seems this could go on forever until, I suppose, you meet someone and you think, I could live with you forever in the woods, and that would be a life.
You think if you'd go to law school, you'd learn to think clearly and think things through. You'd see your starting points and you'd be able to reason your way through to the end. And then it turns out you can't. And now I can't imagine ever beginning to want to have an affair with anyone. I don't see how it's worth it. I can masturbate. I can get a vibrator. Oh, they have the most wonderful vibrator these days. Like saddles. You can sit on them like a horse and ride all you want to. It doesn't buck. It doesn't whinny. It doesn't talk. You just turn it on whenever you want, and when you get tired of it, you just push a button and it stops. Or if you'd like, you can get one of those little ones that fits in your undies and you make it go with a remote control that you can fit in your purse. That way, while you're out to lunch or a wedding party, you can be masturbating while in the middle of a conversation. And then when the conversation's over, no one has any hard feelings. And some people like to be taken forcibly. And if that's what they like, then that's okay. And if not, then not. I myself happen to like it, to have somebody grab me and hold me down and know they have me no matter what. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but everyone should be free to choose for themselves.
Frankly, I've never seen so many gifts, so much silver, so many white things, so much satin ribbon. Do you think we could save the ribbon? Because I wouldn't mind having the ribbon. I haven't taken any yet. I wanted to ask you first if you don't want it, because I have this collection of Barbies and Kens, and this ribbon would go with the whole ensemble so perfectly. This ensemble that I have, they're all arrayed with their hands up in the air because they're doing the fire walking ceremony. And Barbie has her pink feather boa and the lime green outfit with the flowers at the waist and the gold bow at the bodice. And Ken is doing the lambada. So of course they all have Mai Tais. And they're just having a wonderful time. And the convertible is parked nearby, so you know that they could take off and see the sunset whenever they want. And when people come over and see my collection, they just say, wow, because they can't believe I've just done it. But I think if that's who you are, then you should just be who you are. Whatever that is, just do who you are. Because that's why we're here, and if it's you, then it can't be wrong.
When I want to feel sad, I listen to Sufjan. I lean into the vinyl heart you built for me, and I light 3 weeks on the nightstand. The scent hasn't changed, just so you know. Last night, I bleached the sheets we shared. My new duvet cover was boring and lifeless next to our pair of old, soggy pillowcases. But it turns out we could have been bleaching the sheets the whole time. Anyway, it really is tricky putting the duvet in its slip by yourself. I'm not sure if it's smaller than our bed or maybe it's just outgrown its time. You know? A jaded antique we might uncover next to letters when I traveled the world without you. These are minor details. What I'm trying to say, I am in so much pain. Not necessarily because of how I feel now that we're separate, whatever that means. Mostly because I can't stop feeling how incomplete we were when we were together, because I catch myself double-checking my truth when I'm alone, and I can't keep my spirit from sprinting to your doorstep in West Frankfurt. where you unlocked the door and I let myself in. It was barely dawn, but you stood there unashamed, and we celebrated the sense of each other. You flying on your drum set. Me, drunk in the weight of your wine-red comforter. There is shame delicately threaded in that blanket. It's woven through the beautiful trauma of us, our only friend who knows the song. You know which one. The song with the oboes about the bee. The chorus mocks me and slices me with your amber-dipped pocket knife. I can't explain the state I'm in, the state of my heart. You were my best friend. As I begin to crumble into myself, praying to the sacred record you left me, I hear the chant correctly for the first time. We were in love. We were in love.
How could you?
How can a person set out in life,
Not knowing at all what she might do,
and then end up with something that she does that becomes
an obsession.
because she's trying to attract women, because all the time she was
Never trying to do anything.
other than attract women or men if she was attracted to men.
And there it is. One day I will die, and so will you, and yet you could leave me.
And she might have been strong
And beautiful,
or very rich.
or glamorous.
She might have had a charismatic personality or great power.
I don't understand. I will never understand if you have only one life to live and you find your own true love, the person all your life you were meant to find, and your only job then was to cherish that person and care for that person and never let go.
Or if she had none of these, she would have gone into the arts where she would meet prostitutes or not prostitutes at all, but women who were drawn to bright colors or drugs or excitement of some other sort.
But it turns out you can still think for some reason because this or that.
And you end it.
You end it forever. You end it for the only life you will ever live on Earth.
Late hours, dirty talk. If she could paint these women, if she could bring them home and have them take off their clothes, and then they would look at her paintings and think,
oh my.
then she might be able to take them to bed after a while.
Maybe if you would be reincarnated and you could come back to life again and again, a dozen times, then this would make sense.
In spite of yourself, you become distracted by the bright colors. You yourself become interested in abstract things, the nature of light itself, flat colors and sharp angles.
Throw away your only chance for love in this life because you would have another chance in another life.
And even then, pain and despair, desolation and loneliness, hard work, mortality. You don't remember anymore what it was that drew you into this life.
But when this is your only chance?
Until, again, suddenly you see a young woman.
How can this make sense?
You might see her dance, you might see her step onto a tightrope in the circus, and then you remember again.
Do you think there will ever be a time when we could get back together?
All you ever wanted was to hold her and to have her hold you.
I know a man who will say, I want to take care of you, because he means he wants to use you for a while. And then while he's using you so you don't notice what he's doing, he'll take care of you as if you were a used car before he decides to trade you in. The male is a biological accident, an incomplete female, the product of a half-finished gene, a half-dead lump of flesh, trapped in a twilight zone somewhere between apes and humans, always looking obsessively for some woman, any woman, because he thinks that if he can make some connection with a woman, that will make him a whole human being. But it won't. It never will. These cheap pikers, these welchers, these liars, these flim-flam artists, double dealers, litter bugs, psychiatrists. Boy babies should be flushed down the toilet at birth.
Because how it is, when you feel you might be losing me, you come to me to be with me, and we make love over and over and over again until we are exhausted, and you feel reassured that I love you, and that makes you feel confident, so you go back to your husband, and I guess you make love to him over and over and over until he feels reassured, and I am by this time crazy, and if you talk to me on the phone, I seem to be slipping away from you. So then you come back to me, and you make love with me over and over and over again until you have me again, and then you go back to your husband again. So it turns out the only way I can keep you is by making you feel anxious, keeping you on edge, making you feel I'm about to drop you. The way to have you is to reject you. And if I don't reject you, I don't have you, so that we live a backwards life. Because our whole love for one another is not just 1,000 times coming together, but also 1,000 rejections. And this is what people call crazy, and if you do it over and over and over, you become crazy. Not to mention you, because you are already crazy, running back and forth, only going where anxiety drives you. Back and forth, like a ping pong ball. He feels okay, ping. I feel okay, pong. He feels okay, ping. How can we go on like this? This is insane. This is how people go insane.
You're late. I guess you have to be by definition, but I'm still annoyed. I guess it's good to finally see you. I know you've been waiting. I've been waiting too. I think of the moments over the course of it all. You must have been dying to say something. Were you always with me, collecting evidence to use when we finally met? Do you have a little notebook? A list of things she did that seemed normal at the time, but you tell me now that they weren't. I like to think you do. I can probably name a few. Were you there during our first fight when she called me a bitch? You must have written down every time I had to go looking for her in the middle of the night. Did you write down every empty apology, broken promise? Remember when she laughed at me for crying when I hit a squirrel with my car? Is the time she didn't come to my thesis presentation because she ran into someone she knew on the list? Am I right? Do you have those? You wouldn't tell me anyway. Well, you will in like 5 years. God, how could I not see you? How could I not hear you whispering in my ear? Was she just louder than you, or was I deaf to everything except for her? Okay, I get it. I'll stop asking. But one more thing. When you see her, don't tell her you saw me.
The man I used to love would say to me from time to time, "Don't you think you should go home now for a while, like to visit with your parents?" Because he didn't think where he and I lived was our home, and because he wanted to have a fling, and even to have his fling in the bed we slept in, because he wasn't afraid of anything. And sometimes I would come home because it was home to me, and he would be there with a mistress, and I was expected to make conversation with her, and I did, because what did she know? She must have been as confused as I was. And sometimes he would even expect me to take his mistress out for a walk, and he was expecting another lover, and so his mistress, is this what people say these days still? His mistress? His mistress and I would go for a long walk and sit in a cafe drinking coffee while my husband was making love with someone else. Who could do this now that you think back on it? Why would I live like that? Well, the one thing I know for sure is that if I am so untrustworthy a person, so unable to look out for myself, then I don't want to get mixed up with another man before I know what I'm doing. And what just happened if it wasn't that?
And on the 8th day of quarantine spent in bed, I decided it was time to visit the skeletons that live in the tiny room in the back corner of my heart. I told my therapist I threw away the key because she said it wasn't healthy to visit them so often, but truthfully, I was too afraid to throw away the key. They're always there, even when everyone else has gone to bed, when everyone else is on the other side of the fog. I blow off the dust and I let myself into their space. The air, it tastes like chai tea and lost time. They look at me and they say, "Hey, baby girl, how you doing? Well, it's been a long time since you last came to see me. Is it too messy in here? Are we sitting on the floor? Should I fluff up the love seat? Oh, you look pale. Do you need something to eat? What are we doing today? Should I dust off the photos of the people you'd rather forget? Are we going to read the letters from the people that you promised the stars but could only give you a tearful goodbye? Should we hold our breath to see who can hold it the longest? You were so close to winning last time. Should we visit the bathroom where the bad thing happened, or the back seat where the other bad thing happened, or the living room where that other bad thing happened? Should we sit crisscross applesauce and make a list of the things that we wish went differently? Are we going to text him again? What about shouting into the void, unsure we will ever hear anything back? I know that's your favorite. Should I pull out the futon so you can stay for a few days? Oh, we can bake her cookies and pretend like it doesn't hurt to have your favorite dessert tainted by the memories that demand to be remembered. What do you think? It'll be fun. And I know I should turn around and say goodbye and throw away the key and call you. And for a moment, I almost do, but then I look at the skeletons, I look at the familiar wallpaper and the rattling bones extending their arms to me. And I walk in. I close the door. Please forgive me, the cold just feels too good to look away.
People forget. But about 1,000 years ago, they thought the world was coming to an end. So people sold all their worldly goods and gave away their money and went to the top of the mountain, wherever they happened to be, and waited for the end of the world. And they waited and waited. And some of them may still happen to be there. The millenarians, that's what they were called. What they saw, finally, that after the world comes to an end, life goes on. That's how it was for the Greeks and the Romans, and that's how it was for the millenarians. Then, later on, a couple hundred years later, people in 1200, they didn't even realize that the world had come to an end. They just grazed their sheep among the ruins and kept on stealing and fornicating. And when you go to Arizona, you see the levels of sediment in the rock. In the mesas that come up from the desert, all dried out for hundreds of thousands of years. And that horizontal stripe of red in the rock, that was where the sea came up to. Where you're standing now, it was nothing but underwater animals. And then the water levels fell and the fish all vanished. And here you are now, sitting at a picnic table thinking how beautiful this is, like heaven.
Now I know why I haven't been married. It's because I've been waiting for you all these years. I knew I was right, even though I had no idea I'd be happy just to sit in an airplane with you for the rest of my life. My shoulder brushed against yours and to hear you laugh, because more than anything, I love it when you laugh, because nothing is more important than the things that make a person laugh or smile, because your sense of humor is something you can't fake. You can pretend to know something about novels, or you can pretend to be considerate, but a sense of humor is something you can't fake. What gets to you, what strikes you in a certain way, it's just spontaneously how you are when you're not thinking. And I saw you all the way from Los Angeles to New York, smiling and smiling, and I knew I had to have you.
I am a hopeless romantic. What that means is that the moment we lock eyes, I will wish that we could stay there. The tiniest moment feels like an eternity. And even when we do have to inevitably break away, I will see as clear as the morning sun your eyes. And I won't remember the color. I am a hopeless romantic because I want to own at least 5 different cats with you. I guess you could say I'm a cat person, which is not to say that I don't love dogs. Dogs are great. Don't get me wrong. But I love cats because they remind me of my mother. And I love my mother. And she loves cats. And I hope that you'll love them too. I am a hopeless romantic because no matter what you do to me, I will always love you. There will always be a part of me that is painted in the exact shade that you wanted me to be. And even if that color didn't really blend well with our 2 palettes. And that's okay. I am a hopeless romantic because I am a terrible person. I lash out in anger, and I take everything personally, even if it has nothing to do with me. If I'm not right, then I'm the victim, and you're attacking me for vile reasons, even when I feel like I've finally gotten over these issues, new ones begin to sprout. Even my flaws make me who I am just as much as your flaws make you who you are, and that's okay. I am a hopeless romantic because love is dirty and love is perfect, all at the same time. Because to me, being a hopeless romantic is just trying to come to terms with the eternal contradiction that is love. Being a hopeless romantic is knowing that it is better to have love than to have nothing. And personally, I cannot wait for the day where I look in the mirror and I won't see nothing. I cannot wait for the day where instead of seeing sadness and anger and hatred and loneliness, I will just see me. But until that day comes, I will stay being a hopeless romantic, and I will get lost in your eyes and their eyes and their eyes and their eyes. The worst thing you could do with your life is spend it with the wrong person. I only hope that I can be my own right person, and I can get lost in my own eyes.
I started wearing my hair half up, half down because I was in love with a boy, and that boy was in love with a girl who wore her hair just that way. It turned out he didn't really love her hair. I don't know if he really loved her, but he certainly didn't love me, which meant that I didn't love me either.
When they wrote disgusting things about me on the walls in the boys' bathroom, but it also made me excited because someone had noticed me.
I used to tell myself to make myself scarce when I started to feel anxious or alone, because then people could miss me.
Back then, I didn't know that I was allowed to fall in love with myself. And it happens really slowly.
You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror in the bathroom on some Saturday morning, and there's caramel-colored streaks in your hair, and you've never noticed them before, and you kind of like them.
And you lay on the couch looking at the Christmas lights across the street through the living room window, and you realize how happy you deserve to be.
And you find the friends who will sit on your roof and tell you they can't wait to spend the rest of their days with you. And you know that it's true.
And one day, you will pull up your shirt and you will realize that the scar on your hip bone from when you fell too hard, in every sense of the word, has faded.
I never want to be scarce again. I want to be vast and loud and everlasting, and to be in love with me.
I'm not in love with me yet, because I'm not finished yet. I'm still growing, but I am falling for myself, slowly but surely.
And those disgusting words on the wall in the boys' bathroom were just words. Just stuff people say to make you feel small. And you have never been small.
And that's our show. Can we get a round of applause for my lovely cast?
Yay!
And also for my writers. Can we also get some applause?
Yes.
Can we get some applause real quick for our writers, Kayla Keller, Madeline Wilson, Rachel Pevehouse, Cori Lang, and John DeAngelo.
Yay! Yay! Round of applause for Hannah Ottenfeld. Yeah, Hannah Ottenfeld.
Thanks, guys. Oh, I snorted. That was gross.
Is it a little one or a big one? Give me.